Welcome students to Nelson's English School online education program Std-7 subject Social Science. Welcome students. Today we will study chapter 9 Struggle for Equality of Civics. Equality is a principle recognized by the Indian Constitution. It states that all Indians are equal before the law and there should not be any discrimination on the basis of caste, religion, sex, or financial status. All adults have the right to vote without any bias, and this is a powerful tool they can use to choose or replace their representatives. But in reality, people are treated unequally on the basis of sex, caste, etc. There are ample examples in history where people have come together to protest the inequality they are facing. Now, if we talk about economic inequality, there are some points they have an adverse impact on the poor people. Let's discuss one by one. First is privatization of hospitals and neglect of government hospitals. Because of the privatization and the bad condition of government hospitals, poor people do not have access to good health services. Next is high demand for branded goods. The small sellers who sell loose items and non-branded goods are not able to compete with those selling branded goods because they cannot afford the cost involved in branding. For example, packaging, advertising, etc. Next is dependence on powerful people for money. Small farmers, due to lack of money, are dependent on local traders for money for the agricultural inputs as well as for family exigencies. They also have to yield to the irrational demands and conditions of the traders. Similarly, the maid servants, due to their poverty, have to bear insult and ill treatment by their employers. Some people are not willing to lease out their apartment to people of a particular religion in spite of their ability to pay rent or employ people from a particular religion. The Dalit community is always victimized and oppressed. Sri Om Prakash Valmiki, a Dalit writer, has elaborated these in his autobiography Chuthan. In these, he has mentioned that he was forced by his teachers to sweep his schoolyard just because he was a Dalit boy. Harijan, a Hindi word which translates to child of Hari, means Vishnu, is a term popularized by Indian revolutionary leader Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi for referring to Dalits traditionally considered to be untouchable. In one of the earlier chapters, we have read about how the work done by women is devalued. It is not given any recognition and they are also paid less than their male counterparts. The discrimination is because of the social and cultural background we are brought up in. There is a strong interrelationship between the basis of discrimination and inequality. For example, the issues of poverty, lack of dignity, and respect for some communities are not independent issues. They exist together in such a manner that it is very difficult to identify where one aspect of inequality ends and the other starts. For example, the dropping out of school of the Dalit, Adivasi, and Muslim girls is a combined outcome of poverty, social discrimination, and lack of good schooling facilities. This is an all-in-one example of inequality. It shows the inequality on the basis of financial status, caste, religion, and gender. There are some renowned figures in every community, village, city, or country that have stood up against inequality and discrimination. They have fought against the discrimination which they either faced or witnessed as onlooker. Such renowned people are also famous and respected for the fact that they treat everybody with respect and dignity. They are hence trusted and people look forward to them as problem solvers when any issue arises in the community. Some people become popular because they took the initiative to fight the inequality and have the support of large number of people who have come together to fight the inequality. In India we have many instances of people coming together and protesting an ongoing discriminatory practice. In the chapter on Women Change the World, we have read about the women's movement which was intended to create awareness and solve the issues of inequality faced by women. Many such examples exist regarding fight against injustice by groups of beady workers, fisherfolk, agricultural laborers, slum dwellers, etc. Forming of cooperatives is also a method of coming together for preventing exploitation and getting a good bargain in a transaction. Another such example is the formation of Tawa Matsya Sangh to fight an issue. Tawa Matsya Sangh TMS. It is a federation of fisher workers cooperatives. It is an organization that fight for the rights of the displaced forest dwellers of the Satpura forest in Madhya Pradesh. The problem of displacement of people and communities is very widespread in our country. Whenever any dam is built or forest areas are declared sanctuaries for animals, it results in the displacement of thousands of people. Such displacement plays havoc in the lives of people. The life is disrupted in the some ways like uprooting of villages. The villagers are forced to leave their homes and build new homes and start life afresh in other locations. The poverty of people adds to the problem. Uprooting of bastis. Even in the urban areas, when the bastis where the poor live are uprooted, they are forced to move out of the city in far off places. This disturbs their entire life. The workplace and the schools of their children, which were previously accessible, become inaccessible. These severely disturbs their routine because of the distances between the outskirts of the city and the location of their school or place of work. The Tawa river flows through Betul before joining the Narmada in Hoshangabad. It originates in the Mahadev hills of Chhindwara district. The work of building the Tawa dam was started in 1958 and it was completed in the year 1978. It resulted in the submerging of large areas of forest and agricultural land. The life of the forest dwellers was reduced to nothing. Some of the displaced people settled around the reservoir. They found a new source of livelihood. Apart from their meager farms, they started fishing. Their earnings were also very less. The right of fishing in the Tawa reservoir. The Tawa river flows through Betul before joining the Narmada in Hoshangabad. It originates in the Mahadev hills of Chhindwara district. The work of building the Tawa Dam was started in 1958 and it was completed in the year 1978. It resulted in the submerging of large areas of forest and agricultural land. The life of the forest dwellers was reduced to nothing. Some of the displaced people settled around the reservoir. They found a new source of livelihood. Apart from their meager farms, they started fishing. Their earnings were also very less. The rights of fishing in the Tawa reservoir were given to private contractors by the government in the year 1994. These contractors draw away the local people in order to get cheap labor from outside. Those villagers who resisted leaving were threatened by the henchmen of contractors. At this point, the villagers united and decided to set up an organization for protecting their rights. These led to formation of the Tawa Matsya Sangh. The Tawa Matsya Sangh demanded their right to continue fishing for their livelihood by organizing rallies and chakka jam, means blocking the roads. The government, as a response to the protest by the Tawa Matsya Sangh, created a committee to assess the issue. The committee recommended that the villagers should be given the fishing right for their livelihood. Consequently, in 1996, the Madhya Pradesh government decided to give the displaced people the rights for the reservoir. 2 months later, a 5-year lease agreement was signed, and on January 2nd, 1997, the villagers from 33 villages started their new year with their first catch. Now, how the Tawa Matsya Sangh functioned? A cooperative was set up which bought the catch from the fisher workers at a fair price. The cooperative also arranged the transport and sale of the catch at a good price. These resulted in a threefold increase in the earnings of the fisher workers. The TMS had also begun giving loans to the fisher workers for repair of nets and buying new nets. The TMS has proved that when people's organizations get their right to livelihood, they can be good managers. This was proven by the increase in earnings of the fisher workers and the preservation of fish in the reservoir, both being an impact of the Tawa Matsya Sangh. The term constitution, a living document, means that is a document that exists in reality. It does not exist merely on paper but is implemented also. It has the ability to change the lives of the people in a better way, like it did for the fisher workers in Tawa Matsya Sangh. The provisions of the constitution regarding equality were actually implemented as a result of their united protests. The recognition of equality for all people, besides being a provision in the constitution, is also the basis for all the movements for justice and the poetries and songs on equality. There are communities and individuals in a democracy who constantly try to expand the sphere of democracy and push for more equality on existing as well as new issues. Narmada Bachao Andolan is a social movement consisting of Adivasis, farmers, environmentalists and human rights activists against a number of large dams being built across the Narmada River. The river flows through the states of Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh in India. Sardar Sarovar Dam in Gujarat is one of the biggest dams on the river and was one of the first focal points of the movement. Their mode of campaign includes hunger strikes and garnering support from film and art personalities. Narmada Bachao Andolan, with its leading spokespersons Medha Patkar and Baba Amche, received the Right Livelihood Award in 1991. In 1985, after hearing about the Sardar Sarovar Dam, Medha Patkar and her colleagues visited the project site and noticed that the project were being checked due to an order by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India. The reason for this was cited as a non-fulfillment of basic environmental conditions and the lack of completion of crucial studies and plans. What she noticed was that the people who were going to be affected were given no information but for the offer for rehabilitation. Due to this, the villagers had many questions, from why their permission was not taken to whether a good assessment on the ensuing destruction was taken. Furthermore, the official related to the project had no answers to their questions. While World Bank, the financing agency for this project, came into the picture, Patkar approached the Ministry of Environment to seek clarifications. She realized after seeking answers from the ministry that the project was not sanctioned at all and wondered as to how funds were even sanctioned by the World Bank. After several studies, they realized that the officials had overlooked the post-project problems. Through Patkar's channel of communication between the government and the residents, she provided critiques to the project authorities and the governments involved. At the same time, her group realized that all those displaced were only given compensations for the immediate standing crop and not for displacement and rehabilitation. Students, with this we have covered all the topics of this chapter. Have a nice day. Thank you.